No matter where you're starting from, by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly how to start running nearly effortlessly. I've made this video because hearing people constantly say that running is hard or running sucks is just flat out wrong and we need to fix it. This is the system that I used for going from zero running experience to running 8 to 10 miles and sometimes more several times per week during the height of my endurance training. For you to understand how we're going to do this, we need to do a couple of things. First, we're going to reprogram the way you think about running. Then I'll explain the system for how we're going to learn to run. And finally, we'll go over how to program running regardless of if you're completely new or if you have a more athletic background. So here's the reason why people think running sucks. Most of us were taught to run by either being told to run a certain distance or time. And what this did was it immediately set you up for failure. If you couldn't run the prescribed distance, it sucked. And if you had to run for a specified amount of time or a certain speed, it probably sucked too. And you probably dreaded doing it because nobody actually eased you into running and taught you how to do it. So the first thing that we need to do is accept that you've been brainwashed into thinking running is difficult. It's not. And I'll explain the system of how we're going to actually start running, and it's going to feel like cheating. You're going to think that this can't possibly be it. It has to be harder than this, but it doesn't. So here it is. You need to stop thinking about speed, distance, and time when you're learning to run. Quit thinking about miles or intervals or hit sessions or anything like that. By placing these metrics on a run, you're forcing yourself to do something unnecessary and uncomfortable. Think of this like telling a random person that you want them to bench press 225 pounds. While some might be more than capable of that, most of us didn't just get to that weight randomly. It took time and consistent effort and working up in weight to manage that. You're learning a skill. So what do you do without these metrics? What you're going to do is low intensity cardio sessions for an allotted time with absolutely no requirement at all to run any specified time or distance during that session. So for example, this week when you learn to run, your first session will be, let's say, 10 minutes. Again, you're not running for 10 minutes. The session is 10 minutes. Start your timer and start walking. When you feel relatively loose and ready to go, you can start to lightly jog. And I'm talking light, like slow shuffle, like elderly people and people with strollers passing you slow. And right at the point where you feel like you couldn't carry a broken conversation and you're a little bit out of breath, stop running and keep walking. Once you feel rested enough, jog a little bit more and repeat this until the 10 minutes are over. Then you're done. At the end of the session, you may only have ran for a total of like 2 minutes and walked for 8, and that's totally fine. If you continue to do these sessions, eventually you're going to get to the point where more and more of the session is spent running, and it'll barely feel like you're putting in any effort at all. Then, one day before you know it, you'll have ran 10 minutes, barely breaking a sweat, and you'll wonder what to do next. So you'll increase the time of your sessions by about 5 minutes for the next week. Do not add time every single session. Think about adding time in terms of weeks. So let's get to programming. So first I'll go over recommendations for folks who are brand new, and then I'll go over my recommendations for people who have more athletic background and are just getting into running. For complete beginners, your low intensity cardio sessions are going to be roughly 3 times per week at about 10 minutes. If you don't have any more time available to you than that, just run those sessions until you're running the full 10 minutes and then work on your pace. If you do have more time and you do want to start running for longer because running is awesome, stick with me. You'll increase your session time by about 5 minutes per week, even if you can't run for the full allotted time. So even if during week 1 you can only run for 5 minutes total, you'll still increase the session time for next week. The reason for this is because even if you can't run the full time, you're still going to be increasing your steps and increasing your running volume by extending the length of the sessions. And then from there, you're going to work your way up to the desired outcome. So if you only ever want to have 30-minute cardio sessions, don't worry about pushing any further than that. If you want to work on endurance, keep going. If you ever feel like the volume is getting to you and you need to take a break, take a deload week and cut your session time at about half. Then the next week, you'll pick up right where you left off. Again, I've placed a deload week in this table as an example. not as a hard and fast rule. So if you're a little bit more advanced, and if you've been training cardio, running, or you have a more athletic background, my recommendation to get the most out of this is to start with 30-minute sessions and increase your volume by roughly 10 minutes per week. Again, not 30 minutes of running, 30-minute sessions, unless you can easily run for that time. This shouldn't feel like effort. If this feels difficult at all, stop yourself, rewatch this video, and try to figure out what you're doing wrong. Again, when you're learning to run, this should feel almost embarrassingly slow until you can consistently shuffle at a low speed for longer amounts of time. Eventually, if you stick with this, running is going to feel like it's second nature, just like walking. If I've explained anything poorly, or you have any questions at all, my goal is to help as many people with this as I can, so please let me know in the comments. I've linked my personal favorite running shoes in the description, and if you're interested in more topics like this, please be sure to check out the channel.